Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. Economic Prepper here. Hope you guys are doing very well today. We've got a lot of warnings, and it seems like the warning shots are coming out a lot more frequently. These are economic warnings that I'm seeing and hearing. I know you guys are seeing and hearing it as well. We've already heard from CEO of one of the largest retailers, Amazon, or at least I should say, the founder of Amazon, Jeff Bezos, issued a major warning to all Americans with debt, all Americans borderline on the verge of potentially being laid off. We're seeing a massive wave of layoffs coming through the economy. The Fed is less than 30 days away from reporting their next move. And we have already seen a lot of the effects of the Fed's recent interest rate hikes, which has had a dramatic effect on the velocity of home sales. Anyone on the housing market, anyone looking to purchase a home, sell a home, rent a home, or even renew their existing lease if they're renting a home from a real estate entrepreneur, investor, or maybe they're renting an apartment from any major apartment complex. I know Amley's pretty big in our area in terms of apartment complex companies. I'm seeing a large influx of luxury apartments going up as well. And many of these apartments, one-bedroom apartments, are costing as much as $2,000 a month for a one-bedroom apartment. And I'm not going to say as much as $2,000 a month. I've actually seen one-bedroom apartments going for well over $3,000-$4,000 a month. And this is not inside of the New York area. This is not New York City. This is not Los Angeles, Miami, some of the more expensive cities around the United States. This is not San Francisco. Of course, those housing markets are booming. Those housing markets are just unbelievably expensive. And it's interesting when you look at the homeless rate in comparison to these cities, but I'm going to save that for another video. Let's go back to the warning recently received from not only Fed Chair Jerome Powell, which came out several months back, but we're seeing more and more of the effects of the Fed's major changes that are affecting our economy, which the goal was to suffocate the economy. The goal was to increase unemployment. You would think that you would never want to increase unemployment. You would think. But the Fed literally came out and said that their goal is to soften the economy, and they're going to soften the economy through increasing unemployment, raising the unemployment rate. Initially, I think when they started was like 3.3%. Their goal is to hit somewhere around nearly 5%. So I know it sounds like only about 2 percentage points higher on the unemployment rate. However, that accounts for anywhere between 1 and a little over 2 million people who will be losing their jobs. Bank of America recently estimated that the rate of job loss through layoffs, firings, and whatnot will be at a rate of roughly 170,000 jobs being lost every single month on average. Will we see exactly that number? That remains to be seen. Predictions are, sometimes they're hit or miss. Sometimes they're spot on. We've even heard from Michael Burry making rather concerning predictions of his own in terms of the housing market and the stock market going forward. Now, if you guys are not familiar with who Michael Burry is the one of the main characters in the movie Big Short. He predicted the 2008 financial crisis and the Great Recession of 2008. You guys remember all that, the whole housing market crash. It was all bad. It was all bad for a lot of people. Millions of people lost their homes. Unemployment rates soared. If you guys remember 2008, basically the headlines were millions of people were losing their jobs. Lehman Brothers went down. AIG was hitting financial crises. I can't even begin to remember all the different companies that were big players, billion-dollar companies. All of these companies were on the stock market, publicly traded companies, S&P 500, NASDAQ, Dow Jones, you name it. Billions of dollars, actually trillions of dollars of wealth was literally evaporated in a very short period of time. Massive foreclosures. Real estate agents were filing bankruptcy left and right. Some of the real estate agents at the time, they were some cocky real estate agents. Some of them, right? They were making a killing, $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 a year in income. Some of them crossing well over $1 million in income. But they were humbled when the housing market came to its knees, was brought to its knees. Now here we are, going into a brand new year. What does this year hold for us? More importantly, what does this year hold for you? Now, the IRS has already warned us that checks, refunds, tax refunds will be smaller this year. In addition to IRS tax refunds being smaller this year, they're also likely to be delayed in getting those checks out to the American people. Now, in a previous video, got a lot of comments, got a lot of people upset about the fact that the specific comment that was made was that Amazon, companies like Amazon, Apple, companies like, Walmart, any of your top companies. There was actually a list of companies that this previous person made a comment of. He also went on to say that Jeff Bezos, Warren Buffett, Elon Musk, and a number of other fairly famous, wealthy business entrepreneurs and investors, they do all that they can to avoid paying taxes. Well, I don't see why anyone wouldn't do all that they can to avoid paying unnecessary taxes. Anyone who's waiting on a large tax refund is likely taking full advantage of any kind of child care tax credit if they're relevant. They're taking full advantage of any type of earned income tax credit. If a mortgage is being paid, and let's just say that the tax filer is itemizing their taxes, and they're looking at the fact that they've paid tax deductible interest on the mortgage, 30-year fixed rate mortgage, 15-year fixed rate mortgage, maybe it's an adjustable rate mortgage. Doesn't matter who you finance it through, Bank of America, Chase, Wells Fargo. The simple fact of the matter is that, generally speaking, and I'm not a tax advisor, this is not tax advice, but generally speaking, if you finance the home, generally speaking, the mortgage interest is going to be tax deductible. Talk to your CPA about this and, see if you qualify, see if your circumstance qualifies for this. Maybe you can save some additional money. But the standard deduction is actually fairly high. So a lot of times people could technically write off their mortgage interest, but because their standard deduction is so high, the standard deduction overshadows the value of being able to write off the interest, from being able to write off the property taxes paid. So there's a lot of different tax advantages or tax deductions and credits that are available. So simple fact of the matter is that many people are getting upset that, these billionaires, they don't, they're strategizing, they're not paying their fair share. It's like, well, what is the fair share? The fair share, technically, the fair share is debatable. But the question is, what are they legally obligated to pay? Now, you can get upset about this, or you can figure out what they've done and look at your own circumstances and say to yourself, okay, well, how do I leverage some of the current IRS rules that allow you to reduce your taxable income? That's all these guys are doing. And you got a lot of people upset about the fact that people are, these wealthy individuals, they're going out there and they're leveraging the system. They're not paying their fair share. Well, the simple fact of the matter is that the IRS rules are what they are. And these rules apply to everyone. Now, if you don't understand the rules of the game, that's on you. So here we are heading into a new year. We're in a new year. And if you're not living the life you want to live, if you're worried about your finances, if your net worth isn't where you want it to be, if you don't even know what your net worth is, we need to have another discussion. Your net worth is basically your financial score, and it lets you know if you're winning or not. And when I say your financial score lets you know if you're winning or not, it doesn't mean that, okay, if your net worth isn't X number of dollars, on the positive side, then you're not winning. Your net worth lets you know if you're moving forward or not. Now, if you're moving backwards or you're stagnant, then that's a problem. So, in short, just to give you a quick idea, if you never calculated your net worth is nothing more than a basic, very, very simple equation. It's a basic mathematic first grade level equation, okay? First graders can do this. You add up everything that you own that is of value, right? So it is literally adding up all of your assets and subtracting your liabilities from the number of assets that you own, right? So what is an asset? Well, an asset is anything of value. Ideally, it's something that pays you, but technically an asset is anything of value. So an asset would be cash, stocks, mutual funds, cryptocurrency, real estate. Your car is technically an asset. Artwork, valuable artwork is an asset. Gold, silver, precious metals, all of these are assets that you would want to total up and add to your asset column. So, maybe you've got a nice collection of luxury watches, Rolex, Tag Heuer, I'm drawing a blank on watch names, but the simple fact of the matter is that you want to add up all of these different Omega watches. You want to add up all of these different assets and you come up with a total number. Now, that total number might be $1,000. It might be $1 million. I don't know what your total is, but you need to create a list of all your assets, assign a value to each of them, and add them all up. That's your assets. That's your total assets. Now, you need to look at your liabilities. What do you owe? Credit card bills, credit card debt, mortgages, mortgage debt, any kind of outstanding loans, car loans, personal loans. These are all of your liabilities. And so you total up your total number of liabilities, right? So once you have your assets in total and you have your assets in total, you want to take your assets, subtract the liabilities from them, and this is your net worth. Now, your net worth may be a positive number, maybe a negative number, but what I would be doing, what I do is I track my net worth roughly twice a month. And by doing this, you can see a pattern. A pattern will begin to evolve and emerge, and you can look at the pattern. I actually took it a step further. I have a graph that forms, and so it literally connects the dots over time. And so you can see if your net worth is increasing, decreasing, or staying the same over periods of time. Now, most people who will be affected negatively by this economic collapse, this economic evolution, are those who have generally speaking, the people who will be affected the most have a negative net worth, and it is declining. So, simple fact of the matter is, in order to make sure that you and your family are in a solid financial state, you need to be doing a couple of things. You need to be eliminating debt, or more importantly, eliminating high interest debt. Now, depending upon your financial strategy, You may want to keep debt, because not all debt's bad. Being debt free is great. It is a way to reduce anxiety for a lot of folks. Some people would rather just have a paid off mortgage, no debt, no outstanding debt, what have you, and that's great. But if you want to accelerate your wealth building process, having some debt is actually not a bad idea. Imagine this. Imagine you have some debt, and your debt is, there's an interest rate, assigned to this debt. Let's just say it's 5%, right? So let's just say you got a rental property. You borrowed $500,000, $500,000 to buy a rental property. And this particular rental property is not even a single family house. It's a duplex. Maybe it's a triplex. Maybe it's a quadruplex, for $500,000. You're paying 5%, hypothetically, right? Well, if you are, and your mortgage payment on this is, let's just say, I don't know, $3,000 a month, right? But you go and rent this property out. You've got this duplex, you've got a triplex, you've got a quadruplex, whatever the case is. Your total rents being brought in from this property is, say, $4,500 a month. Well, you're cash flowing $1,500 to the positive every single month. So yeah, you have, this outstanding debt of $500,000, but that $500,000 debt is making you an extra $1,500 a month, or $4,500 in revenue per month. That's probably close to 70, if not $75,000 a year in revenue, and probably around $18,000 a year in profit. So does it make sense to carry the debt? Well, in that case, you're profitable. I'm happy with that situation all day long. In fact, I'd be looking to get further into debt. And if you guys are familiar with the Robert Kiyosaki cash flow quadrant, that circumstance that I'm describing right now puts you in the I quadrant, right? Now, most people are stuck in the E quadrant, which is the employee corner of the quadrant. So you've got four sides of the quadrant. You got employee, investor, self-employed, and business owner. Now, most people are in the employee side, and these are the people who are most vulnerable, but you don't have to stay there. In fact, I fall into all four corners of the quadrant, and this enables you to become nearly invincible to economic issues. Now, if you guys want to learn more about how I did this and how this is actually one of the fastest ways to build wealth, definitely hit me up in the comments down below. I hope you guys are doing very well today. Hope you guys got some value out of this video, and I hope you guys are preparing your families and you're increasing your incomes. If you haven't already, definitely consider subscribing to the channel, drop a like for the video, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Be safe.